The word hell appears 54 times in the King James Bible. Pastors preach about it. Artists paint it. Philosophers argue over it. It may be the single most powerful word in the history of Western religion. And almost no one knows what the original text actually says. Here is the problem. In the original Hebrew and Greek manuscripts of the Bible, there is no single word that means hell. There are 4 completely different words, describing 4 completely different things, and every single one of them was translated into the same English word, hell. That decision has shaped 2,000 years of theology. The first word is Sheol. It appears 65 times in the Old Testament. It is the Hebrew word for the realm of the dead. Not a place of fire. Not a place of punishment. Simply the place where the dead go. Job prayed to go there to escape his suffering. The psalmist said God was even present there. Sheol is not hell. It is closer to the grave. When the Hebrew scriptures were translated into Greek, Sheol became Hades. This is the Greek underworld, a shadowy realm for all the departed, not specifically a place of torment. The New Testament uses Hades 10 times. In the book of Revelation, Hades is ultimately thrown into the lake of fire, which means Hades itself is not the final destination. It is a temporary holding place. The third word is the one Jesus uses most. Gehenna. He uses it 12 times in the Gospels. And Gehenna is not a mythological underworld. It is a real place. A valley just south of Jerusalem. The Valley of Hinnom. In the Old Testament, it was a site of child sacrifice to the god Molech. By the 1st century, it had become Jerusalem's burning rubbish heap. A place where the fires never went out. When Jesus said, "Fear him who can throw both soul and body into Gehenna," he was pointing to a specific, real, recognizable place that every one of his listeners had seen. A smoldering valley of death and waste outside the city walls. He was using it as a metaphor for ultimate destruction and judgment. Not a cartoon underworld with pitchforks. A burning rubbish heap outside Jerusalem. The fourth word appears only once in the entire Bible. 2 Peter 2:4. The Apostle Peter uses a verb form of Tartarus to describe where God sent the fallen angels, not human souls, but the spiritual beings who rebelled before the flood. Tartarus is borrowed from Greek mythology, where it described the deepest abyss, far below even Hades. Peter uses it once, for angels, and never again. There is one passage that seems to describe hell most vividly, the story of the rich man and Lazarus in Luke 16. The rich man dies and finds himself in Hades, in torment, able to see Lazarus resting in Abraham's presence across a great chasm. But notice, Jesus calls this place Hades, not Gehenna. And many scholars read this not as a literal geography of the afterlife but as a parable about wealth, justice, and the reversal of fortunes. The early church was not unified on this. Some of the most influential theologians in Christian history, including Origen and Gregory of Nyssa, believed in universal restoration, that God's judgment was ultimately purifying, not permanent. Others believed in annihilation, that the wicked simply ceased to exist. The picture of eternal conscious torment in literal fire was one view among several in the first 4 centuries of Christianity. None of this means there is no judgment in Scripture. There is. The Bible is serious about accountability, about justice, about the weight of how we live. But the specific picture of hell, the flames, the eternal torment, the geography of the underworld, that picture is far less clear in the original text than most people have been told. 4 different words. 4 different concepts. 1 translation. And 2,000 years of assumptions built on top of it.